Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. About a month or so ago, I introduced what Muslims believe. And this is a very important aspect of or aspect of Islam that people need to fathom in order to get a grip on how Islam works, and also to better understand your Muslim neighbors and your Muslim colleagues. And so these beliefs which I started emphasizing or started highlighting are fundamental to all Muslims. So it doesn't affect whether these Muslims are Salafi or Sufi or Shi'i or Sunni or whatever they might be, or denomination they might claim or profess to belong to. I tend to try to keep things broad and general, and so that people just get a general understanding of what it means to be Muslim. The first thing we emphasized was belief in God. In God, for Muslims, they call God Allah, which is just the Arabic word for God. It's not only Muslims who call God Allah, by the way. Christian Arabs also call God Allah, and Jewish Arabs also call God Allah. So Allah is just the Arabic word to denote the concept of God. Where really you want to sort of understand Islam is Islam talks about a very specific God concept. So belief in God in Islam is very specific to Islam, and in some ways shares a lot in common with Judaism. And that is the insistence in Islam that God is one God, alone, without partners. So we spoke about that already in a previous video. In brief, just to remind some people who haven't seen the previous video, God in Islam is beautifully described in one very short chapter called the chapter of sincerity, in which it is written, or it is stated in the Quran, in the English translation, "In the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful, say ye God, Allah is one. He is eternal, without beginning and without end. He begetteth not, meaning he doesn't have children, nor was he begotten, meaning he does not have, he was not born. So he does not have children, nor was he born, and there is nothing that can be like unto him." Okay? He is totally unlike anything that is known, so you cannot compare him to anything. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. So that is the God concept in a nutshell in Islam, or at least the fundamental aspect of the God concept, meaning the insistence of Islam that God is one alone, without partners and without comparison. It is very much unlike Christianity in that while the Bible does say your God, thy God is a jealous God, and where in Christianity there is a strong theme of not worshipping other than God, not having engraven images, etc. Some things very similar to Islam. Nevertheless, the one major difference, at least with later Christianity, Roman Christianity, is that in Christianity God has a son. Okay, Jesus is the Son of God, and so this notion that Islam has, or that God does not have children, is in conflict with Christianity, where it says God has a son. Whether or not God's having a son in Christianity is metaphorical is a separate story. Some Christians say it is metaphorical, that we are all metaphorically the children of God, Jesus being the one who died on the cross for our sins, etc. I'm not here to expound on Christianity, but that is the major difference between Christianity and Islam. Otherwise, the general notions of God between the three Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, are basically the same. Okay, so let us move on from there. The next fundamental tenet of Islamic belief is to believe in the day of judgment, okay, or the last day, okay. This also we share in common with Christianity and Judaism. But what I want to talk about today is what does it mean to believe in the day of judgment in Islam. Further, I want to say that belief in the day of judgment or the last day or the day of accounting, Yawm al-Hisab, is very, very crucial to the Abrahamic tradition, but also it's a belief that is often, evidently, not shared amongst the believers. Meaning, though it may be written in the Gospels, it may be written in the Torah, it may be written in the Quran, and it may be emphasized as a fundamental belief, evidently, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, many of them do not believe in the day of reckoning and judgment. And I will tell you why in a minute. And so for this exercise, we are going to look at a chapter I was reading in the Quran, the chapter of Luqman, Surah Luqman. Okay. Now, interestingly about this chapter is that Luqman is not said to be a Nabi. He's not said to be a prophet. Okay. And is known as Luqman the wise because of his wisdom. And so this chapter begins, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Mim, and these are the cut letters of the Quran whose meaning is unknown to people. Many people have jested or guessed, tried to guess what these meanings are, and I will not go into that. Alright, the next verse, Tilka ayatul kitabil hakim, these are the ayat, the signs of a wise book, or the wise book, the wise book. Okay, so the Quran refers to itself here as Kitab al-Hakim, the wise book. It is what? The verse following, Hudan, a guidance, wa rahmatan, and a mercy, lil muhsinin, to the sincere doers of good. The sincere doers of good. So again, Alif Lam Mim, these are the signs of the wise book, a guidance and a mercy to the sincere doers of good. الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. So, those who indeed they establish the prayers, obviously this seems to be in reference to the 5 daily prayers, and they dispense of the charity, the zakah, the obligatory charity. And when it comes to Yawmul Akhir, when it comes to the Akhirah, the last day, they are certain of it. Okay, they are certain of it. So this is the criteria basically for the belief structure. أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ. Okay, those upon are the ones upon whom is the hudan, the guidance, min rabbihim, okay, from their Lord. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, and those are they who are indeed the ones who are successful. They are the ones who are successful. So we will stop there. And this is sort of the code here, the remedy for success. Okay, and let us look into it, and we'll go back to my statement where I said many Muslims, Jews, Christians do not actually believe in the Yawmul Akhir, the last day, or as the ayah puts, وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ, and they are of the Akhirah most definitely certain that it exists. Okay, and why this is the most important ingredient to this equation here. Okay, and so Let us look at it more closely. Okay. Hudan wa rahmatan lil muhsinin. Or with tajweed, if you would say it with tajweed, it would be Hudan wa rahmatan lil muhsinin. If you were to recite it with tajweed, but we're not worried about tajweed right now. Okay. This category, this doers of good, sincere doers of good. Okay, what is their quality? Okay, how do they derive the wisdom from this wise book? Okay, and what is their actual qualities? Okay, and why are they mentioned together? So we're going to look at that with special emphasis on belief in the last day, the day of account. Okay, they establish the prayer and they give the zakah. Now, establishing the prayer by itself and giving the zakah by itself, okay, is not going to make you successful. Let me say that again. Establishing the prayer and giving the zakah is not going to make you successful, okay? This does not guarantee guidance from your Lord, okay, by itself. Why? Okay? Because it does not tell us that by doing these things, the fundamental belief structure of Islam is in place. The fundamental belief structure, which is to believe in Allah, okay, and to believe in the last day. Okay? Those are the two fundamental belief structures. There are others, but this is the relevant one now in this instance. Okay? And the motive behind doing the salah or establishing the salah and giving the zakah must come with sincerity, and that's why this ayah tells us hudan wa rahmatan lil muhsinin. It is sincere doers of good, meaning they doing the good what they do, right, for the seeking Allah, okay, seeking Allah's reward, seeking what Allah promises them, okay. They would not be seeking what Allah promises them if they did not believe in it, okay, if they did not believe in the akhirah, okay. So these two actions, the salah and the zakah, right, become an instrument for success if it is coupled with the belief in the akhirah. If you are sincere and you know with certainty that there is an akhirah, okay? Because, in other words, we can admit to ourselves, as many people have in spiritual practices, be it in Buddhism, in Taoism, in all types of Far Eastern religions where meditation is an important aspect of the religion, you could argue that the salah is a good form of meditation. Is it a good form of meditation? Absolutely, 100%. It's fantastic, right? And by making salah, you are definitely deriving benefits from the salah in this world, okay? By giving zakah, by giving charity, you are definitely deriving benefits from the zakah in this world. Even economists and people, political scientists and all these types of people will tell you that charity, giving charity is very good for the economy, okay? Circulating funds, helping the poor and marginalized, etc. It's very good for a country. It's good for the economy. It's good for the self. But none of these things, the goodness that you can derive from these two actions, are relevant. In terms of faith, iman, if it is not done with iman. And that's the difference. Okay, it's not relevant to iman and to the success in the home of the year after, in the akhirah, if it is not done with iman. And so a big aspect of faith that in the latter period tends to be missing amongst Muslims is the belief in the year after. We emphasize how wonderful Islam is and how beneficial Islam is in its practices, and we tend to look more in terms of the benefits that we reap from it in our homes, in our families, in our societies, etc. And then the spiritual aspect, that accountability to God, right? The goal is towards God, towards Allah, that we gets left out. Because why? We do not have this firm belief in the akhirah. Okay, and this shows forth in people's actions, and you would see it, for example, in the way people treat each other. Okay, you find people, they pray 5 times a day. They would spend a lot of money in zakah, in charity towards institutions, the building of institutions, mosques, and so on. But then they exploit their workers. Okay, they pay their workers minimum wage, when they can well afford to pay their workers more than that, okay? But they're more worried about earning as much money as they can in their business, coming away, as an individual, coming away with tens of millions, and then paying your workers minimum wage, when you can well afford to come away with a bit less and pay your workers more, okay? This is not believing in the akhirah. This is an example of not believing in the akhirah. Because you are not worried that Allah might ask you, when you are being held account, that why did you exploit your workers? You're not worried about that, okay? You think that your relationship with Allah is in the masjid. It's when you make salah, and when you do zakah, and when you do these things, you think your relationship with Allah is in that. So there's an added dimension here, and that is wabil akhirah, okay? And wahum bil akhirati hum yuqinun, okay? And they are certain of the akhirah, okay? Yani, they take care regarding their actions in all their affairs, okay? Their Islam is not confined to the masjid. Okay, the Islam is not confined to once a year giving their zakah, 2.5%. Okay, their zakah, their Islam involves, right, their being God conscious and God fearing in all the activities. Why? Okay, because they are certain of the day of account, the day of reckoning. They are certain that every person that they interact with, or even the animals they interact with and the plants they interact with, has a special significance in the sight of Allah, and therefore should be respected as the creation of Allah. And that is the ethos of and the veracity of believing in the day of account. And this message I give to all the people of the book, for all the Ahlul Kitab. This is a fundamental belief in all our religions. And this is what it means. And so whether you be Christian or Jew or Muslim, right, beware that Allah, God, okay, by whatever you call him, is watching you and will hold you to account for all your actions. Okay, as the Quran says that there is not an atom's weight or a mustard seed or the smallest measurement of an action of either good or bad, but you will be brought to account for it. And this is the teachings of the belief in the year after. And if you do conduct yourself accordingly, and then the Quran goes on to say, أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ, those are the ones who have really got the guidance of Allah upon them. Now you are guided. Not you only made salah and did zakah, you are guided. No. You made salah, you established it, you did zakah with this iman, with this knowledge of and certainty of the day of reckoning, the last day. Okay? And conducted yourself accordingly in your affairs in life. This doesn't mean that you may not slip up or that you do things wrong or you don't do things wrong. That's fine. Yani, we all make mistakes. Okay? But you have this consciousness. Then you are those who have the guidance of their Lord upon them. And it is those who are al-muflihun, who are the successful ones. Sadaqallahu al-azim. And that is the sum total of what I want to tell you today. And further on, when you have doubts about the Day of Judgment, when you have doubts about being raised up after death and all of these things, turn to the Quran, turn to Allah, read the Quran more, and your doubts, bi'idhnillah, will be dispelled by the veracity of the words of Allah. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallam.